Meeting to order.
Ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Temple City Council for Thursday, March 7th. Please rise as Superintendent Sheldon Rhodes leads us in the invocation this evening, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mr. Troy Myers, son of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Every head bowed, please. Our Father, Lord, we just come humble before you once again to say thank you for this wonderful day that you've made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, we just thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for your wisdom and your understanding on today, Lord, that you continue to bless our Mayor Davis, our Mayor Pro Tem Morales, and all the city council persons, Lord, that are present on today, and all the servants of our great city here in Temple. Lord, you told us to trust in you with all of our heart, lean not to our own understanding, in all our ways to acknowledge you, and you shall direct our paths. We thank you for doing it even now for the city of Temple and beyond. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good.
Good job, Troy.
Okay, very good. Item 2 is time for public comments. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so as long as they've signed up prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit any comments that you might have to 3 minutes. No discussion or final action will be taken tonight by the city council. We do have one couple, I assume, that is signed up, Al and Larissa Dodson. If you'll please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Larissa Dodson. I live at 6917 Sun Valley Drive, Temple, Texas 76502. The comments I have are pertaining to J.C. Wall's building off of FM 93. Right now I am against it until we can work out some leaving the row of tree hedges that are behind our home, so the houses cannot be built up against our fences. So he's working with me. If that cannot be done, then I'm going to have to say no to it. Okay? And same with my husband, because the problem still lies with the telephone poles in our yard inside our fencing for Encore to reach. So that's pretty much my biggest complaint right now at this time. I think that's it for now.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. All items listed in this section are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted in one motion.
Mayor Davis, item number 3 is the report from TEDC.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to? There he is. Sorry, Adrian. I was moving along. I've probably already seen this report. That's why. So item number 3 is to receive the annual Temple Economic Development Corporation report. Welcome, Mr. Candidate.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, it is great to be before you in this capacity. In accordance with our funding and operating agreement, we're called upon to come by once a year and give you an annual report. This is generally about the time, maybe a little bit later than we typically do, but we've been pretty busy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in this report as well. But before I get into my comments, I wanted to point out that we do have a profile of our annual year report, a small summary that's available to you there. We won't go through every page with respect or for respect out of the council and your time and the business you have to tend to, but we will do some high-level reporting on that. But we're so appreciative of our relationship with the city. It is working really, really well, and I think that's evident by the recent successes we've had and the successes that we're going to talk about here in 2018. First of all, I wanted to orient you to our staff. We look a little bit different than we used to, and this past year has brought about change and opportunity. And so what you see here is our team. We're a small team, but we work efficiently, and we work very hard every day for the benefit of the citizenry of Temple in this area. Myself is listed there as the president and CEO. Scott Connell, who we brought on board in the middle of December, our new vice president, and he really handles all of our business development and external marketing effort and leads that effort. Bridget Weber is our communications and marketing professional. She also came along middle of December, and she handles a lot of our communications, online digital marketing, and our communications out to clients as far as proposal development, website maintenance, and she does a great job with that and has been working very closely with city staff on some initiatives that we'll address or talk about a little bit about later on. And then also our operations manager, Jennifer Avery, who handles all of our administrative needs and operational needs, and our contracting as well, stays on top of that with the companies that we work with. Just to orient everyone, our board of directors, and we have some new faces there as well, but really proud of this board. It's made primarily of the business community, but we see all of our partners represented here. Of course, Mayor, you sit on that board. Our city manager sits on that board and is a part of those discussions. But we also have partners in the way of Bell County and the ISD and others that are represented there. And with respect to economic development, and I've said this for years, sometimes we have a little bit of success as a community, and the first thing people do is they come up to the EDC folks and they say, "Great win for the EDC." And I always have to correct them. It's a great win for the community because it takes a team to get done some of the heavy lifting that needs to be done in order to get someone to invest in our community and create those jobs. And this board of directors is really representative of our team in this community that's helping get things done and helping with our successes in 2018. So looking at our demographic growth, and we truly are in growth mode as a community. You look at the past 5 to 6 years, the number of jobs in Temple has grown from 41,000 to 44,000 approximately, and the Temple metro population has grown quite a bit. One of the things that we are seeing in some of our prospect marketing is we're seeing projects that we have the opportunity to pitch on that are higher in capital investment, but sometimes, in some cases, they're higher in job creation as well. And so as we think about job creation and the ability to fill those jobs, particularly where we're at a 3.6, 3.7% unemployment rate, we have to look at pitching the region with respect to our workforce and the jobs that are available in the region to some of these companies. And so the fact that we see some growth here in that Temple metro population is very positive. And the projected growth is very aggressive as well. We talked about investment growth, and again, continuing in the vein of growth in general, we took a look at the last 10 years of projects that the EDC either directly marketed to, that influenced in some way, that we negotiated an incentive for. And in the last 10 years, we had over $500 million of new investment in this community. That's something that this community ought to be very proud of, that the team is working towards, the team has accomplished. Not every city in the state of Texas can say that. And so that's really, really significant. And that excludes the outlier that everyone here is familiar with, and that's Panda Temple Power at $2.1 billion that they invested some years ago. So a lot of activity, a lot of job growth, and of course that's resulted, those particular projects result in about 1,500 new jobs that have been developed in that time period. Sales tax revenue, you all get the TEI reports monthly, and you can see that sales tax revenue continues to trend up. When you look at the last 7 years, from 2012 fiscal year to 2018, You see that significant growth, about $5 million, and I know you all are tracking that because that's significant to the city. Again, all signs pointing up for the community of Temple. In 2018 specifically, we announced $16.55 million of investment, and that was comprised of three major projects. Hudson Manufacturing, who is an arms manufacturer here in the community, they put about $2.3 million in. Reynolds Manufacturing put another $3.2 million in to expand their investment on a plastics film line that's going to allow them to produce more product. And I love, Hudson was new to the community, and Reynolds was an existing industry that grew in the community. That is always positive because from an economic development standpoint, all facilities have an age. All investments have an age. And as you get to the 20-year mark and the 25-year mark, and you don't see new investment in that community, that's when the community should start to get a little concerned that maybe that's an opportunity when that investment ages and that equipment ages, they may look at options other places. The fact that we're getting that new investment, an influx of investment in that facility means that they're invested in this community for the long term. And then the Temple Bel Air North project, a retail-related project, which I think we're going to see more activity on, particularly as we get the construction out of the way of 35, and everybody's excited about that, was an $11 million project as well. So all announced in 2018, all part of that positive growth upward for the community. We like to recognize our industry. I mentioned Reynolds Manufacturing and the existing industry program that brought us that $3.2 million investment. And we typically, year to year, take opportunity to recognize some of the folks in our community, industry community, that are creating good jobs and that are participating through our Expansion Project of the Year, the Excellence in Workforce Award, and our Corporate Partner of the Year. The existing industry program, and I guess this has been my day for presentations because I've had 3 today, and this is a great way to end it, but the existing industry is so important to all communities. Everyone gets excited about the new announcement of the new company coming in, but we really have to pay attention to the existing companies that are here that have been creating hundreds or even thousands of jobs and millions of dollars investments and paying taxes to you all for decades even. So we have a very aggressive existing industry program where we go out and visit with folks. Typically in the past, we've recognized them through this industry appreciation, but we're also going to be looking at innovative ways to really get one-on-one time with them, sit down with them, and understand what their needs and make sure that they know that they're supported by not only EDC, but the city and the county. Workforce development is very important. I mentioned that 3.7% unemployment rate, which sometimes can make it a little challenging to find the employees that these existing industries need to continue to be successful here. So we partner with the P20 Regional Council, the Temple ISD Career Day, Temple ISD Industry Advisory Council, all in an effort to make sure that those connections between industry and our local resources are made. So last couple of slides here, just want to talk about recent successes. I don't have to spend a lot of time with that. You all are intimately and very familiar. This is kind of looking forward. This didn't fall in the fiscal year 18, but the fiscal year 19. I felt like if I was before you, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention these 2 projects. And again, $200 million so far in our fiscal year 19. We've got about 5.5 more months to go. I'm working hard as I can, and the community's working hard as it can to bring more investment online. But for those in the audience that might not have been aware, East Penn, with their battery finishing distribution center, announced on 40 acres, $106 million investment, 266 new jobs, in addition to the 86 jobs or so that they already have in the community, is a great project at our Temple Industrial Park. And the Niagara project that we've all been very excited about. And I will tell you that just this afternoon, I got the final text that says we are fully closed out, and I anticipate that they'll have projects or project managers out there next week to start to move dirt, and they'll be going quickly. And again, a big thank you to the city, Kayla, Bryn, the rest of the team, the department heads for coming together for that success. And again, this is a slide of our industrial park and those 2 projects. The East Penn project, that's on the south side of this slide next to the rail line, and then the Niagara project, which this is not a a total correct depiction that their line is a little further east, and they're on 50 acres, or will be on 50 acres there at the Temple Industrial Park, Site 61. And the final slide, 2019 initiatives. We, in partnership with the city, developed early last year, February of last year, some objectives and 5-year goals for our community, and also that the Temple EDC would kind of lead on behalf of the city to get underway. And that's to maintain and improve high-quality capital jobs in Temple. That's part of our existing industry program, and I touched on that. Managing opportunities for target industry expansion and growth, and that's executing our marketing plan. I can tell you right now, in 2019, we have a very, very aggressive marketing plan. We'll hit about 18 to 20 markets this year alone in travel to get in front of corporate real estate decision makers, with companies, site selection, real estate professionals, and real estate brokers to talk about the Temple, Texas story. And help to build a higher quality workforce in Temple and across the region. That's through our workforce partnerships. And we're continuing to tell the Temple story. The city is aware of our partnership with you all and the DCI marketing effort, and there's going to be more to report on that in the next few months. And then we want to be a leader for directed economic development and growth within Temple, and we're doing that in Austin and around the country as well. So 2019, we're very excited. And we're very excited about continuing our relationship with the City of Temple. And I will pause now for any questions you might have.
Mr. Candidate Counsel?
We should host him with our Niagara water.
There you go.
That's right. Any questions or comments for Adrian? Adrian, what was your start date at TEDC?
September 15th or 14th of 2018.
Okay. You hit the ground running. You've hired a couple of staff, you've landed a couple of projects, you've been doing a lot of paperwork. I drive by the TEDC office on my way to work each morning, and I always look over there to see if your car's there, and I'm watching you.
Yes.
No, seriously, a lot of times when I drive by, if I'm going to work early, he's usually already there at, 7 o'clock or so. So, thank you for your good work. You were landing projects and hiring staff and getting a marketing plan together. So, Temple, our partnership with TEDC is working well, and we appreciate your leadership over there very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
From a staff standpoint, I just wanted to say it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Adrian and the team he's built, and so we really appreciate him being here and are excited to see that partnership continue to thrive, and have really enjoyed it.
Good, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed in this section are considered to be routine by the City Council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council on any item, it may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member and may be considered separately. Council, is there anything that you desire to remove from the agenda, from the consent agenda? All right, then, council, this time we'll consider items 4A through 4L, and I'll entertain a motion on those items.
Make a motion for approval? Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. Moving on to item 5, the regular agenda item. It's the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the rezoning of 86.91 plus or minus acres situated in the Redding-Roberts Survey, abstract number 692, and located at the intersection of FM 93 and Southwood Drive from Agriculture District to Planned Development Agriculture with required site development plan. Ms. Lyerly.
Mayor. So as you mentioned, this is a rezoning from Ag to Planned Development Ag District. And first reading is tonight, and then second reading is scheduled for March the 21st. On the screen, I have an aerial of where the subject property is located. It is this property that's in the red area just south along FM 93. The Valley Ranch subdivision is on the west side of the property, and the Legacy Ranch subdivision is to the northeast. Just to give you a little background, the applicant is requesting a rezoning from ag to planned development ag to allow for a 78-lot, single-family residential development and plans individual on-site systems, and it's on approximately 86.91 acres. Presently, the property is already zoned ag, which allows HUD code manufactured homes by right with screening on 1 acre lots. So within the present ag district, anyone can build a home as long as the minimum lot is 1 acre. I have the zoning map on the property, on the screen of the property, and the whole green area on the screen is our agricultural district. As I mentioned, it fronts major arterial, which is FM 93, and the adjacent properties are urban estate-sized lots, which are greater than a half-acre single-family residential. And the request for planned development ag district is in compliance with the surrounding area. The future land use map, actually, if you look at the property, it has 2 designations, and the top portion of the property is in the yellow area, which is designated as suburban residential. And that is characterized by mid-size single-family lots, which allow greater separation between dwellings and more emphasis on green space. The southern portion of the property, at the time that the future land use map was created, the property was out of the city limits, which is why it has an agricultural rural designation. And so the thoroughfare map shows FM 93 in blue, which is a major arterial, and arterials are for high traffic streets. A residential development is only appropriate along major arterials for subdivision entrances. We do not allow any kind of residential frontage along an arterial where that would allow for backing up. So what we're seeing nowadays with subdivision development along major arterials are the arterial entrances are only for a subdivision entrance, not individual homes. And then as far as existing water and sewer on the property, you'll see on the screen, I have water. Our maps reflect water as the blue area. So there's water lines that are along both north and south right away of FM 93. There's also some water lines within the adjacent Valley Ranch area. As far as sewer, there's no sewer on the site. There is sewer in the adjacent Valley Ranch subdivision, but it's unavailable due to no easements from the property owner and the high cost of required lift station because of the terrain. The nearest sewer line, other than the Valley Ranch area, is across the street to the north of FM 93, and that would be in the Legacy Ranch area. The applicant is requesting septic system or proposing septic system for this development, which is why staff has this request as partial compliance because he only has water to serve the property. And then I have some on-site maps. You'll see that this is Southwood Drive at the bottom corner of the photo. And another picture where you can see the across the street on the north side of FM 93 is undeveloped property. And then the south, the end of Southwood Drive is a cul-de-sac which has access to the Encore substation, which is at the south border of this property. And I have 2 pictures on this screen showing that. And then the properties to the east, we have presently the properties to the east would be out of the city limits. They're residential, estate homes. And at the bottom corner, you can see there is a creek that was a picture of the creek along Boutwood Road that I took a picture of. Along the east is the boundary along Friars Creek. And then surrounding properties to the west, there are two pictures. The top picture are some homes that were built in Valley Ranch at the subdivision, and then you can see the west view from FM 93 looking towards the Valley Ranch direction. The developer proposes to build a fence with stone columns along FM 93, along the frontage, in back of the property, south of the property line, of the tree line, which is in the TxDOT right-of-way. And just some development regulations. I have a comparison of the standards within the current agricultural district and compared with the proposed agricultural district. The proposed Plan Development Agricultural District is proposing minimum lot size of 0.75 acres, and it ranges in sizes. Larger residential lots range from 1 acre to 2.89 acres. And as you can see, the minimum lot size to build a home in the agricultural district is 1 acre. The minimum lot size that the applicant is asking for in this plan development is a 0.75 acres. And as far as the minimum lot width, in the ag district, it's 100 feet. The minimum lot width that the applicant is proposing is 94.9 feet in some areas, as well as the minimum lot depth for our current ag district is 150 feet, and the minimum lot depth of some of the lots that the applicant is proposing is 194 feet. So there's a little bit of differences in a lot of these. The front yard setback for our current ag district is 50 feet, and the applicant is proposing 25 feet for his development. And then the side setback, the current setback is 15 feet. And let's see, we have 15 feet for the proposal. So basically, the rear setback, which is the setback that is consistent with all of our residential development, is 10 feet. But whenever we have that 10 feet, we have a ratio that we use in the rear yard. So it would, there's a certain percentage that you cannot have development in the rear yard. So whenever we have a proposal, we look to make sure that they are in compliance with the 50% ratio in the rear yard, so that we don't allow a house to be all the way up to the 10 feet. I mean, just a portion of it. And then the maximum building height is 3 stories. These are, on the screen, I have the permitted uses for the agricultural district, and we'd had some questions, and I have highlighted, of course, agricultural uses are allowed within the agricultural district. We have residential uses that are allowed in the agricultural district, and those are single-family residents that are detached only, as well as industrial housing, and HUD code manufacturer homes are allowed by right in the current ag district. There are no retail services or commercial uses that are allowed, and of course, educational and institutional uses are allowed in every zoning district, but no restaurants or overnight accommodations would be allowed in the current ag district. On the screen, I have the applicant's plan development site plan. During the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there was some opposition to a easement along the creek that due to overwhelming opposition that staff is not supporting an easement, a trail easement along the creek. So the applicant has removed that. So that is there is no longer an easement shown on the plan development site plan. Also during the plan development or the P&Z meeting, Encore had mentioned that they were working with the applicant to have their access a little straighter into their substation at the south border. So they have, the applicant has worked with Encore so that the access, the new access to Encore is proposed to be just a straight a straight street into the substation. What you'll notice is in prior site plans associated with this development, the applicant was keeping Southwood Drive in its present location, but because of working with the residents with the Valley Ranch to the west, the applicant is proposing to relocate or actually replace Southwood Drive, remove Southwood Drive and use that room to make the lots bigger or the depth wider or a lot better adjacent to the Valley Ranch subdivision, and then actually building a new road that would replace the present Southwood road that is there. So you'll see on the site plan that there are actually two entrances into the development now. And so the total number of lots that the applicant is proposing is 78 lots. And as I mentioned, the minimum lot size is 0.75 acres. The bigger lots, that's the minimum lot size, but the lots do go up to, they range in sizes from 1 acre all the way to a little over 3 acres. But the larger lots are along the creek area. Also, the side building line, the applicant was proposing 7.5 for a side building line in the planned development site plan, but staff recommends that that be increased to 15 feet, which is what we have in the regular, our current agricultural zoning district. Let's see. Oh, along with this planned development, the applicant stresses in this planned development site plan that single-family residential house development is the only thing that would be allowed on this particular property or this subdivision. Also, he is asking for one 2-inch caliper at breast height tree, a canopy tree, to be planted in the front yard of every home in this subdivision, which meets the City of Temple approved tree ordinance. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the wood and masonry fence along FM 93. Also, because he is proposing a rural residential street, the local street width, we were asking that there's no parking that would be allowed in the street. As far as compliance, this proposal does comply with the future land use plan. It is compatible with surrounding uses and zoning. The public facility available, we have that as partial, since he only has water that would be available and not sewer. And as far as the thoroughfare plan, we have that this request is compliance with the thoroughfare plan. We mailed out 20 notices. We received 2 notices that returned from property owners. We received 2 in disagreement. Those are noted on the map, 2 properties within the Valley Ranch subdivision. We received 1 verbal opposition to this request, which I have designated on the screen in an orange D, so that you can see which ones we actually received a paper notice response letter back with feedback versus at the meeting that we had at the Planning and Zoning Commission. We mailed out 5 courtesy notices to the property owners within 200 feet that are in the ETJ. And the newspaper notice was printed on January 24th, 2019 for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in accordance with the state law. So the Planning and Zoning recommendation at their February 4th, 2019 meeting was 4-1 to approve the rezoning and site development plan, which at that time included a trail easement, but which has been removed since that meeting per staff's recommendation. And staff recommends approval of the rezoning from ag to plan development ag and the site development plan with no trail easement and containing the following conditions. And that would be that the development be subject to the plan development site plan, that the development also be subject to all Unified Development Code plating requirements during the plating process, and that this single-family residential site-built development only, so that's one of the conditions that would only be for single-family residential site-built development only. Also, minimum lot size is 0.75. The other condition would be the minimum front yard setback. Well, I have 25 feet there. Side building line is 15 feet. The applicant proposed 7.5 feet, but the condition would be that the side building line is 15 feet. Rear building line is 10 feet. And also 1 2-inch caliper diameter at breast height canopy tree to be planted in the front yard of every lot. Species shall conform to the approved City of Temple tree list per the Unified Development Code, and as well as a fence along FM 93 shall be wood with masonry columns, and no street parking is allowed due to the proposed 22-foot wide streets. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Questions? Nothing? All right, then, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hello again. Larissa Dodson, 6917 Sun Valley Drive, Temple, Texas 76504. The building down to 78 homes is agreeable. What's not agreeable is when we were here and y'all approved last time, y'all gave the exception that the tree line between Valley Ranch behind my home and the new building would remain. I did not see that proposal in here, although Mr. Wall did tell me that it would be a 20-feet extension, but that they would still be using my fence as their back fence. That is not agreeable. The only way I will agree is if those trees remain between the divisions. They cannot, for Encore to reach the telephone poles along that road, every house on that back side, on the west side, actually has 2 or 1 telephone pole within their fence line. That's all we're asking for. And the other thing we were asking for was that they leave a tree line between the Boutwell residents of 7 acres, between their barrier and the building. That's all we want. We're not telling him he can't build, but we are asking that he separate the divisions. And now they're saying that they can put mobile homes on there. My property alone, just for my house, was $300,000. By the time I finish paying with the interest, it's gonna be a $500,000 home. You put a mobile home next door on an acre lot, you're going to drop my property value drastically.
That's one of the provisions in this proposal, is that it requires site-built homes, which means there will be no mobile homes.
No mobile homes.
No mobile homes at all.
So that HUD mobile modular homes or whatever is
From
out?
Ms. Larley's presentation, what that means
It's allowed
is,
now.
as the way it's currently zoned is ag,
Uh-huh.
as long as there's a 1 acre lot, a mobile home could be moved in there. But the developer has agreed that on this project for these lots, that there will be no off-site built homes, meaning no mobile homes will be pulled in there and then.
In other words, it has to be built
Right. So
from the
that
ground
is-
up
That is 100%.
on the land.
That was 100% out of this project.
Okay,
mobile
all right.
homes.
I'm content with that, thank you.
Sure.
But that tree line dividing these divisions of these homes and that 3-story, that can't happen. We are all single-family, single-level homes. I don't want to be in my backyard and somebody be in a 2nd or 3rd-story window being able to watch me.
Ms. Lyerly,
That is the present, it's allowed today in the ag district. Is
Then I'm going to disagree totally with the
Well-
whole deal.
Presently, the way the property is, just agricultural district is what we're saying.
So every house that's along here, may I step up here real quick? Every house that is right here, that is going to be built right here, next to these houses for Valley Ranch,
right, I understand.
require every one of these only be single level, no 2-story.
Is that in the proposal now? Is that my understanding?
Mayor, it's not, but with the plan development
That can be
request,
required.
you can add your own conditions.
Okay.
I think that was a condition in one of the previous proposals, but that is not under, that's not listed as the current condition.
And then leave the tree line up.
You could add that.
That's what we're asking. He's given us a 20-foot extension.
Yes,
The fencing would be at the end of that 20-foot, not my fence. Leave 20 feet of trees up between my fence and the next fence. That's the only way I'll agree with this.
we understand that's your request.
Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty much what I'm concerned about. And then, of course, the flooding and stuff with the creek, but that's Army Corps of Engineer deal. So, thank you for your time, and thank you for consideration.
Sure, thank you, Ms. Dodson. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, I'm Debbie Shine, and I'm the homeowner at 3018 Forester Road. I believe I probably have the most acreage adjacent to this development. And those of us in the ETJ were not allowed to register our opposition due to a change in procedure this time around. There's a lot of talk about mobile homes and stuff, and that kind of came up at the last P&Z meeting after it failed to get a second. And the fact of the matter is, we're not worried about mobile homes being moved in there with the price that would need to be paid on those lots. That's just not going to happen. So I know everybody keeps kind of using that as it could happen, but realistically, that's not going to happen just due to finances. I think most of you council members are aware of the neighborhood concerns. Our two biggest concerns are flooding and drainage. And I understand that the engineering plans, in theory, only allow the same amount of water at the same rate to enter into Friars Creek. But in reality, with every development that's been built, the flooding, the erosion, and the destruction has increased. We're also very concerned with the increase of traffic and its impact on safety. The intersection at 31st Street and 93 is a dangerous and deadly intersection. I believe that my neighbor, Bill DiGaetano, outlines the traffic problem in detail, and I know each of you received that email. To add 2 entrances that close to the intersection, especially when the intersection at Legacy Ranch, when that development's built out, is going to make it even more dangerous. I'm asking that I asked that the Planning and Zoning Committee begin to evaluate projects based not only on the individual projects' merits, but also on the bigger picture, to look at developments being added to any particular waterway. Friars Creek is currently having a lot of things come online. Everything behind Lowe's is going to empty into that. The Portico apartments are going into that, and they don't have any retention because they're built right up to the creek. Bellaterra, Legacy Ranch, it's all going into our watershed, and we're suffering downstream. So my request is that we begin to evaluate things on the big picture and not just on individual merits. I'm asking you to vote no, but if you vote yes and approve this, then I'm asking for a drainage study, and not only a drainage study to be done on Friars Creek, but an implementation of steps that would improve the flooding that's happening and the erosion and the destruction of property for people along the creek bed. I'm also asking that you do a traffic study in conjunction with TxDOT to address the growing traffic and safety problem that already exists, but that's only going to be compounded when Legacy Ranch builds out, and if this development is approved, it's only going to be more so. So I would hope that y'all would look into those two things if you vote to approve this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Shine.
Don't we have a drainage study? Isn't there a drainage study going on now?
Yes, ma'am, we do have a drainage study underway, that's, we are, waiting on enough rainfall to calibrate the,
We get a lot of rain.
yes, so, we are, is Richard here? You might help me with the, there you are. Do you have any, can you remind me of any, estimate of when that might be completed? It's a trick question because he has to decide how much rain we're gonna get. There's a statistical calculation that he can get it down to the day.
We've had a lot of rain, but it's all been light rain, so we need some of the more significant rainfall events so that we know that the model is correct. So we're totally dependent on that, so.
We're currently studying how many basins, Richard?
I believe it's just
Is
two-
it three or
three?
three?
Yeah, three.
So it's a comprehensive modeling assessment and citywide drainage study. So we split the basins essentially in half. We started with about 3, although probably about 2 months ago, you all authorized a change order to that contract to go ahead and get the, I'm probably going to say it wrong, but the sensors in the streams for the other drainage basins so that we are already collecting the rain data that we need. So for the second half of the study, we won't have the problem that we're having right now, which is literally waiting for the rain.
So pray for rain.
Thank you, Richard.
My understanding that there's the second part of that is not being addressed, that that's just a study and there are no plans to implement any improvements to the problems you find.
We do have a capital program that council has already adopted a rate structure that supports some level of capital investment. We, of course, without the benefit of the study and knowing exactly the scope of projects that are needed, there might need to be additional conversations once the study results are in about, how large the capital project, and so there might need to be some additional work, but we do have some capacity in our current rates to begin implementation of the plan.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Can we, just for clarification, address Ms. Dodson's concern about the tree line? I remember that from the last proposal. Haven't seen it in this proposal. So just so we're all clear at this meeting, is the tree line issue in this request?
No,
Currently
Mayor.
a condition in the proposal before you.
Myers, say that again.
No preservation of tree line is a current condition in the current proposal.
J.C. Wall, 8702 Adams Lane, Temple, Texas. We added a 20-foot easement to the rear. Can you clarify that, Tammy, of the Valley Ranch neighboring properties, Southwood Drive, the rear of their properties, we added a 20-foot easement. They can't build a permanent structure there.
Correct.
I don't see why a neighbor or whoever would build a home here would want to tear down a nice tree. But I can't I don't know how we can preserve that for a homeowner to not tear down a tree that they own.
Well, your site plan would actually have to include some kind of notation that you have that reserve of a tree line that's 20 feet wide. I mean, you have an easement, but it doesn't actually specify that it includes preserving the trees.
Yeah, and we sort of went through this last time, I remember, and we talked about, the trees on the city-approved list. We wouldn't necessarily leave an old cedar tree or an old hackberry tree, but, you would leave a nice oak or, a cypress or something like that, so.
Yes, Mayor. Brian Chandler, Planning Director, and that's what I was going to suggest. That's what was discussed previously and the type of language that Council has previously adopted on planned development districts when we talk about landscape buffers. Could be a 20-foot landscape buffer preserving trees that are on our approved list above a certain size.
Okay.
16 inches is something that we've used before. I mean, 16 inches, those
It's
are
a nice tree.
fairly substantial,
Right.
and I think this site has quite a few substantial trees. So that could be a potential condition, 20-foot landscape buffer to preserve trees on the city's landscape chapter approved list at 16 inches or greater diameter breast height.
Mr. Wall, I see you giving the thumbs up. What does that mean?
I guess my question would be, as a developer, we won't tear down the trees, but a homeowner that would be living there 5 years down the line, what are you gonna give them a ticket if they cut down the tree? That's how I'm trying to
Right.
figure, how are you gonna police
Right.
it? is my
No, we're not
question.
we wouldn't take that step,
There you
absolutely.
go.
So,
Then, of course. Okay.
So
You know, would be
that
great.
is an item that could be added to the 11 statements on the addition,
The conditions, yes.
conditions, thank you,
Yes,
that's the
you're
word I'm
welcome.
looking for.
I think every time you move that, it has an issue with the audio. That's why Donald keeps running up and putting it back. So,
Can y'all hear me, though?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's my concern
yeah,
more.
you're fine.
My concern with those trees, he's still using my fence line as that property's fence line. I don't want their yard up against mine, because when they do start down the road, if they want to build a playhouse for their kid or put a trampoline back there, they're going to remove trees. They're going to have they're going to have that approval because they own the property, they own the house. I'm asking for the buffer to divide the subdivisions, just like every other subdivision on 31st Street that goes up and down 5th Street until you get over towards up here by the VA. You're building $500,000 homes. The aesthetics needs to stay in compliance with that kind of build. When you start having people's houses from a different subdivision bumping up against the next property, there is nothing that divides that. That's why we're called a subdivision. And that's why we paid the property taxes we pay, not just for Temple, but we also pay Belton taxes for the school. So I think as a taxpayer, not for one city, but for two cities, leaving that row of trees and building from Southwood over is a small request. Why does it have to be so hard? Because what Mr. Wall was telling me before the meeting started was that the fence would be, my fence would be their fence, but he wouldn't tear the trees down during development, but that doesn't mean they can't come in later and tear those trees down as the property owner.
The person that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, the person that would buy the lot that may abut Miss Dodson's is gonna own the property up to the fence line. Is that correct? So we can request in this planned development AG zoning, we can request that Mr. Wall not remove any trees.
That's all I'm asking for.
What we cannot do is we can't tell the next homeowner that owns the property that joins your fence, what they can do with their trees that they just bought. So I want that to be very clear, that that's not something that we as the city council can do. Just like we
Right.
couldn't come into your backyard right now and tell you you have to add or subtract something.
Right. So
So
what
we-
I'm,
we
but
are
what I'm
willing
asking
to-
is leave that tree line like y'all agreed last time to do. Y'all all approved it
We-
with that tree line being left alone.
We are doing that. But
Okay.
whenever the next person that buys that home,
Uh-huh.
that's their land. That's their tree.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
But I-
you all are talking about two separate things. She wants the 20-foot buffer to be left as no man's land.
Right, basically an easement.
With their
Exactly,
fence
and-
line at the edge of that tree line on their side.
So,
And the
well,
trees between my fence and their fence.
I understand.
So in other words, whatever trees
No man's
between the
land.
fence,
You
the
want
fences.
a 20-foot strip that no one has access to.
Thank you. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. I don't know that that will
You
be
do
agreed
understand
upon,
that
but we understand what
Southwood
you're
is being
asking.
moved. The street itself
That's
is
what I'm,
being
that's
moved.
why I said leave that strip of trees, because where that strip of trees is at right now, Southwood literally lines that strip of trees. So I understand he's already moving the road. But what he's saying is they still have all the way to my fence line with those trees still left up. He's still giving them the opportunity. That's not giving me the opportunity to have a buffer, because it will be that property owner's decision to tear down that buffer.
Hypothetically, let's say that it's left as no man's land.
Uh-huh.
You've got all those trees, nobody ever
Mm-hmm.
touches them. A storm comes through, and 50% of them come down and knock down your fence. Who are you holding responsible?
Me. Because
don't own it.
that's my fence. But it's my
The
fence.
trees aren't on your property. It's just a hypothetical, but something to think
If
about.
a tree were to fall over and knock my fence out tomorrow, I would still fix my fence, clean up the debris of the tree, and put my fence back up. That is still my responsibility, irregardless of the easement situation. I don't see why that, all I'm asking is for that buffer to be between the two subdivisions.
Responsible for maintaining that.
We understand your request.
Okay,
So
and no two-story houses, no
That's
three-story
what they're
houses.
saying.
Single-level homes,
It
all
wouldn't-
along the back of our properties.
That's not part of this proposal. That's something that a
That's
council
what
member.
was said earlier. Three-story homes could be built.
That's true. What I'm saying is your request to only have single-level homes along that property line, that's your request, but that's not in this
Correct,
proposal.
correct. That's what.
So it'll be up
that's-
to a council member to add that.
She's asking
That's
us
what
to
I'm
add that.
asking for. I'm asking for no two-story or three-story along the Valley Ranch
Right.
homes of Sun Valley
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
to be built here.
We-
And leave the trees between, and they can build single-level on that side. And then two-story or three-story can go in the middle.
We
That's
understand.
what I'm asking. Is that better? Is that more clear what I'm asking for? For y'all to say yes to that?
I'm not trying to be smart, but it was clear earlier.
Okay, I just
I
want to make sure.
I understand.
Okay.
I think we understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because somewhere we got that fence line confusion going, and I'm just clarifying myself.
Gotcha.
So, trees between two fences, and no two-story homes. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Do we need to ask Mr. Wall?
Yes, we do.
So the easement that we're putting on the plat,
Name and address for the record.
J.C. Wall.
Sorry.
8702 Adams Lane. The easement that we're putting on the plat is also in the deed restrictions that, correct me if I'm wrong, that they can't build a structure, which would take care of a kid's playground as well. So,
I can explain that whenever we have a plan development site plan that is approved by city council, when it comes time for building permits, the person who reviews the building permits looks at the plan development site plan, and for new permits, that person will make sure that whatever is requested on that permit agrees with the plan development site plan. But it only allows us during that process, whenever we have a building permit, that's where we look at the site, the plan development site plan. As far as what they were asking, if someone moves in, builds a house that is compliant with the plan development site plan, that's wonderful, but we have no way of knowing what happens after that process.
Correct.
And we have no control over that other than the zoning requirements.
Correct.
Yeah. Mr. Wall, do you have two-story houses in mind along there? Or is that, are you
I will
too,
let
is it too
council,
soon to look at that?
y'all make the determination on that. Of course, no three-story homes. We have the easement in place, and then I'll leave it up to y'all to decide through the rest of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor and council, from a staff perspective, I would caution against leaving a strip of no man's land in terms of a maintenance. I mean, you would have the potential for overgrowth in the area, a nuisance in terms of rats and snakes, and so that's just a consideration. If you've got fences that you have a strip of land in between that no one is maintaining, that can
Especially with a
quickly
bunch of trees
that can
in there,
quickly
too.
become a safety concern. And that's not usual for between two developments. It's not usual to have that.
Well, and there are other places that are sort of landlocked that the city is responsible for. I'm thinking about one out in West Temple that the residents have had a number of issues with. The city getting out there and mowing it, and rodents and snakes, and that's been an ongoing
And this
issue.
would be even I think you might be referring to a drainage area at Windmill Farm. So this would
Yeah.
be even a more unique situation in that the city would have no ownership or responsibility, or even, so, it wouldn't be a city easement, so that would be even more challenging.
I think we really sort of have to say that that's just not doable, that portion.
Is that subdivision gonna be HMO?
HOA?
HOA, I'm sorry.
I'm thinking insurance today. That's okay.
Yes,
I
Mr.
understand.
Wall's issuing insurance also.
HOA, sorry, yes.
Mental health, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just wondering, because if that's so, then maybe the
well,
developer.
but still that, I mean, if you put an easement in there, I don't know that you could require the HMO to take care of that either.
That one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other comments on this item? No? Okay, very good. If there are no further comments, I will close this public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 5.
These are really hard. This is hard to do because you can't, it's unpopular either way
Right.
to make a decision. So I did want to address the traffic that we are actively pursuing, looking at some traffic lights on 93 because it is frightening and it's unsafe. And so the city and staff are definitely looking at doing something out there. But
And committed to continuing to look at 93.
oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, I do feel like Mr. Wall has bent a lot for us, and this is the least dense population, and so I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Councilmember Walker, would you like to add any additional conditions that you've discussed today? You don't have to, I just want to bring that up.
Thank
that-
you, because I got sidetracked with traffic. I would, if possible, like to have that one row, single family, I mean, not single family, but single story, facing the other subdivision, if we could add that condition, please.
The other condition that you discussed was a requirement for the developer to preserve trees that are on the approved tree
Oh.
list at 16-inch diameter. Again, I'm
No,
not
no, no,
suggesting that
that's-
you do
yes,
that, I just
yes.
was reminding you that that was part
Absolutely,
of the
so do I
conversation.
need to say, okay, so to preserve the 16-inch trees that are, would they be considered heritage trees or
That are on the approved list.
approved list
Could,
trees?
could I get a clarification on that? Are you just talking about the 20-foot landscape buffer adjacent to Valley Ranch like we
I
discussed?
believe that's what we discussed,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
So you're making a
It was really cut up.
with two additional
Yes, conditions.
conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
I seem to not be able to remember the word condition tonight.
And that would be along the west property line adjacent to the Valley Ranch subdivision.
So, Ms. Walker, to clarify, 16-inch trees on the
On the
list
approved list, yes.
and single story on the
West.
western edge.
Yes, sir.
No, public hearing's over.
I'll second that motion as presented with the original 11, I believe, conditions and 2 additional that Ms. Walker added.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long?
I would like to, I vote aye, yes, but I would like to add my thanks to the developer for working so closely with city staff and to the city staff for working so closely with the developer and the community to get something that is better than it was a year ago in terms of community needs. Thank you very much, and thank you very much. And so, yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
I will say yes, but I did want to add a little bit to here. I know that there's concerns from the residents in that area, and I really appreciate them coming forward and discussing it, because this is what we're all about as far as our city and trying to come up with a good compromise. And I also want to thank Mr. Wall for working very closely and city staff doing all they can to make sure. But as we heard just a while ago from TEDC, our city is growing. We've got to kind of grow with it and be able to be sure that we've got adequate water line, streets, and all that. And I can assure you that the city is very concerned about that too, and they will stay working with the TxDOT, the city, and look into the drainage and look into those issues as they go along across the board, no matter where new subdivisions are being built. But I think it's great for our city to have this growth, and we're just excited about it. So that's it.
I would like to echo my fellow council members' comments regarding, this is the process. This is the democratic process where we, we have a set of rules, have a set of parameters, and we ask everybody to work within those. So, again, thank you to the residents. Thank you to the developer for your efforts. I know this has been a long, drawn-out request on everybody's end, and so I appreciate everybody's hanging with each other to get this done. And my vote is aye. Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending tonight's meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.
I think